Hey, it's Soul, here to talk more on Dragonflight. I've been kind of avoiding this particular subject because the new race and class, the Dracthyr Evoker, is not really what I'm most excited about for the upcoming expansion. That's energy is reserved for talents. Yes! So I don't have as strong or as vested of an interest in it as you do, and some of you have been pretty upset over the reveal. I've been taking my time over the past few weeks or so to listen to the feedback, and today I'm going to share my understanding, or try to share my understanding. My initial reaction when this whole thing came out was, oh heck yeah, dude, lizard class. You know, it's like a science experiment. It's these genetically engineered magic casting machine things made with dragon technology. Now that I've read many of the other responses, though, I think I can understand, I think I can guess why some people are upset. So we're going to go over that, and we're going to bring up some counterpoints, and, well, then you can decide for yourself. And hey, it's Soul, hit the like button, subscribe for the algorithm, and let's go. So if the WoW team like told us, not showed us, but just told us that there would be a dragon-like race and class combination, our imaginations would most likely jump to the B-roll. It would jump to this: Draconoids, these two-legged, sometimes four-legged tank-looking creatures, these avatars of might, sometimes holding up big weapons. You know, they had this intimidating presence. They're basically a humanoid dragon, as opposed to what we're kind of seeing, a humanoid lizard in Dragonflight. It's kind of like a T-Rex versus a raptor. That's the difference I see. And it's hard to deny that based on these screenshots, these guys they're pretty lanky, right? They look sort of weak, and for a dragon race, looking weak is not a great characteristic. Some argue that they look a bit too whimsical. They're not badass enough. It's not at all what was in our headcanon. Like, remember during leak season with the calls for some dragon race, like Draconoids, Dragon Sworn, Dragonborn, and all that stuff? Dracthyr have a humanoid form, but they only have one humanoid form. Males have a form similar to blood elves, but with abs that you can do laundry with. Females have a human form, and I want to point out that it's pretty cool. There's a choice of drawers for both genders, which is kind of a nice touch. I'm just baffled that that's it for the two forms. Like, we're used to dragons shapeshifting into whatever humanoid form of their choosing, including gnomes and tauren. It's a very dragon thing, and it feels arbitrary, maybe lazy, that Dracthyr forms are restricted. Another disappointment is that the Dracthyr do everything in their original dragon-like form, and in their humanoid form, they don't do anything. It appears that it's going to be purely cosmetic. I think it would be very cool if, say, like, they get into combat, and then certain abilities invoked their dragon form until they shifted back, at some point. So it would mean that for the most part, we would be exiting combat while in our Dracthyr form. Like, there's a certain roleplay scratch when, as a caster, you're like, pew pew, you're throwing out some ramp-up abilities as your humanoid form, but then you pop off into the sky while shape-shifting into your Dracthyr form, and then raining breath on the enemy. So I hope that they're considering that. I hope the team considers that sort of fantasy. What makes this form restriction feel even worse are the visible equipment restrictions. Dracthyr Transmog is limited to shoulders, tabard, and a belt. There's no pants, there's no helmets, there's no gloves, although I would argue that helmets wouldn't look all that great. Now, I'm a huge fan of Transmog, and not being able to wear cool shades or press the random Transmog button for laughs and to get a really good impact from it wouldn't be very amusing to me. And I don't have a problem with Dracthyr being the only race that can be an Evoker, but I do have kind of a problem that they can't be anything else but an Evoker. They can't be a warrior, they can't be a mage or a demon hunter. I'm kidding, that would be very weird, but that's a tough limitation to swallow. Going back to how Dracthyr have only one humanoid form, it would be a complete solve if the WoW team did let Dracthyr choose their form. That way we can go around the other critique that other races should be able to come Evokers, although some folks out there are arguing for that too. Now, I don't mean to defend the WoW team's decisions on the Dracthyr. I'm just going to share what I thought were kind of convincing points based on the little bits of research I've done and, my understanding on that. So folks want Dracthyr and Evokers to feel better. Like, that much is certain. Very general, but I think all of these arguments are well reasoned. I mean, heck, there's not even much of a reason needed. It's a game, just make some of these changes happen, right? But I'm sure people are also quite happy with the Dracthyr as they are in the preview, barring the final release, of course. I should also point out that interviews have asserted that the Dracthyr that we see are not final. There is going to be iteration. There's going to be some, added thickness for those who want their characters to be represented better the way that they want them to, I'm sure. And I wouldn't call what I'm about to talk about a mistake, but there was definitely something massive missing with the Dracthyr and the Dragonflight preview altogether, and that's a playtest. This is the first WoW expansion we've had without a playable preview, where fans can get not just a look, but a feel of a new race or class. Walking like a gnome isn't the same as a goblin, and that's not the same as a Kultiran, or a Zendalari troll, or a regular troll, or a Dracthyr. How does it feel being a skinny lizard skating through the air, raining death on the rabble below? How does it feel to hold down the button to charge up a big nuke or a heal? We're used to seeing big streamers and content creators doing the showing, from the character creation screen to gameplay to seeing if they added the joke or the silly emotes yet. I think the discussion on what Dracthyr Evokers should or shouldn't be would be very different if we had more people who could speak from experience to back up their arguments or their counter-arguments. And lore-wise, here's what little we know. The Dracthyr were created by Neltharion before he became Deathwing, and they're infused with the powers of all 5 Dragonflights. So special. And so they were made in a test tube. They're genetic experiments. So my headcanon says that Neltharion wanted to create the ultimate dragon casters. It's like making a new RPG character, and you put all the points into intelligence. Hence why they have smaller, thinner forms compared to their Draconoid counterparts. And even with a comparison, Draconoid casters share a kind of similar body shape and stature. And, they don't have wings. I'm guessing Neltharion focused entirely on, making the quintessential caster that happens to be a dragon. Proficiency with aiming a bow or swinging an axe, so unelegant, way too many points there, let's take those out. And also consider that these dragons were created over 10,000 years ago. As far as we know, this predates most of WoW's class archetypes, and even then, if Neltharion was creating a race of spellcasters, why would he imbue them with the common powers used by, the Highborn or the Priestesses of the Moon? Why pick up Druidism or Shamanism when this race was made to use unique dragon powers that no one else has? When talking about the limitations of Dracthyr humanoid forms, some refer to Chromie as a terrific reason why Dracthyr should be able to transform into whatever form they like. But I also refer to a thing called Visage Day, which, as far as we know, it's a dragon custom where dragons choose a humanoid form to take when they are at age, whatever age that is. Now, this little story was taken from the WoW Folk and Fairy Tales of Azeroth book. Chronormu, or Chromie, while he's a male dragon, chose a female form on her Visage Day. Before that, she asked different dragons for advice, including Onyxia, the black dragon. She told Chromie that something, I'm paraphrasing here, that your form should be used to control and manipulate people. That ought to give some indication of what advice Neltharion would have given to his creations 10,000 years ago when they decided their humanoid forms, if they were even given a choice of their forms in the first place. Even if we accuse the developers for using the lore as an excuse of this design and not the other way around, if nothing else, this kind of paints a fairly convincing picture. Neltharion, the scientist dragon person, created a race of his own design, made to be unique spellcasters with a body to suit it, and giving them humanoid forms that, given their look, I guess they're not meant to control or manipulate, but to maybe give an air of authority. Now, again, that's very headcanon of me. That might be totally rewritten. But the point is, they're a dragon whether they're throwing fireballs or not. But there is a bright side to all of this. The introduction of the Dracthyr Evoker to WoW is just the introduction to the race. The WoW team has so far been clear on wanting to deliver like a certain fantasy, and bringing in an ancient race that only knows how to heal and breathe fire thanks to their premise. But these will also be the early chapters of the Dracthyr in the grander Warcraft story. Their origins don't suggest that they'll be able to ever become like Death Knights or Demon Hunters, and probably not Druids, but I anticipate that as soon as the next expansion, the Dracthyr can get thrown into Chromie time like everyone else, and they'll get at least a handful of classes added to their selections. I'm pretty sure at that point, the team is also going to take more liberties and be like, well, okay, if we'll say that the Dracthyr are unique, and you'll be able to go to the barbershop, and you'll be able to change their humanoid form into like these many different races, or all of them even. But as for Goblin Evokers in the future, I'm far more skeptic of normal races somehow learning how to channel the powers of the 5 Dragonflights. But consider Druids and the similar dilemma that they faced. Over time, they got additional customization to their forms, and over time, they got the Glyph of Stars that let them opt out of their Moonkin form. That's likely to happen in the future, but for now, I bet the team just wants to force us to appreciate their work for a little while. I don't mind hearing from you, so have at it. What are your thoughts on the Dracthyr so far? Is it too soon to tell? Is it too late to care? Share it in a comment below. I'd love to have you back, so be sure to subscribe to the channel and like the video too if you don't mind. Until next time, stay safe, stay healthy, and stay breezy.